What is up? It is me. I haven't made a video in a long time, but we're going to change that. So, in this video, we're going to be going over what I did in this tune to get some really sick distortedness and some tonalness that made some really, really awesome distorted dubstep, rhythm, trench, whatever you want to call it. I used a couple cool tricks in this process of mixing that I want to show you that I think would be really vital for you guys to stick around and check out. Also, I'm doing lessons, so yeah, I'll put the thing down below for hit me up. But yeah, let's get on with it. This is what we're gonna be making. So, to explain this, we're going to start from square one. Honestly, I feel like this is something a lot of people kind of maybe disregard when it comes to this type of sound, is that we're going to be looking for a very specific type of wave structure or, kind of process structure within the sound itself. Yeah, we're going to be using like basic shapes. I know that's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. We're also going to be using combs in this. But yeah, it doesn't matter where you put the basic shapes. You just kind of want to find something that's very strong in tonality when you play it on the initial without any like post-processing or anything like that. You don't want anything that's like, looking all crazy, like maybe like these monster tables over here, or oh, my bad, that's not the monster tables. The monster tables over here and stuff. You don't want this kind of stuff because this is just going to create really, really hard frequencies to EQ out in the end process. So we normally want some like smooth looking stuff like this. You can FM to B it if you want. Your LFO normally wants to look like this because so if we play this sound right now, you'll hear the structure of what I mean by this LFO, and you do want a kind of like short stabby type of LFO. You don't want something that's going to take up so much dynamic range that you can't get that low end to sound like that. So that's the sound, and then I also put it on a 1/8 triplet here just because I wanted to go like wabba wabba wabba, and it's on a 1/8 triplet and it works. So yeah, I put them into pretty much quarter notes. Don't use this. I don't know why I used it. I guess it just sounds nice. I normally don't use it though. I use some compression. That gives it more push. Also, I feel like I'm cheating while not telling you that this is hella process. So like whatever you're hearing right now is kind of like a totally processed sound. If I played this stuff without the process, here, let me see if I can. So like yeah, very very different. But as you can tell, that mid portion or that high in that mid portion, we're only covering such a range of like dynamic playability. We got this Vocodex changing the sound, and then make sure you always do like one full cycle to the right or one full cycle to the left because it can change your note. First, are really just a bunch of resonators, but the resonators are stretching the sound out in a sense. And then we have a wave shaper here bending it, and then I got these gross beats kind of like that one's not being used. I apologize. We have this one which is on every it's like every like one of these or something at the end of every 4 or something like that to give it like a pitch down or some sort. Then we got this boost in this EQ boost in the highs a little bit, soft clipper at the bottom, default, and then it's going into this other process right here. So this is my sound going to this process. And then what this has got on it is this is not being used. That's a cool plugin though. Got Pro R. Probably should be cutting this low end out. Not gonna lie, it's kind of like mess up on mine. Normally you want to cut this stuff out like by doing this, but whatever. This is the side, by the way. Yeah, I have it on 44 space. The mix is on 33. I didn't really touch these. I kind of, maybe I touched the clean a little bit, but didn't touch these much. Kind of liked them. Yeah, but kept the mix at 33. And then I put a Q3. Pretty much, I shouldn't have done it this way. Honestly, I probably should have just used Soothe. But I guess I kind of wanted to manually do it. I don't know why. It does sound nice though. Pretty much why are these in particular spots? Well, when you play Q3, you can actually like here. I'll show you. This is really cool. So yeah, when you play something, you can like hover. You just hover your mouse over like this, let it sit for a second when you're playing something, and then it will turn purple, and it will actually show like certain peaks that could be, toned down or taken down. That might be harming the mix a little bit, and that's pretty much where I got these peaks. It showed me like the highest peaks when I was playing stuff. Throughout. Let's explain the sub glued to the sound. So now that I've kind of explained the sound and what I was trying to go for, normally to do this type of stuff, you just want some like stabby, transient type sound, or maybe like some half quarter note type sound that's tonal of some sense, some sort, my bad. Or you could possibly do some kind of like rough sound, but you would have to really try to get it to work with the distortion. So, like, you can hear that this sub is adding some sort of like, it's part of the sound, but it's adding this like explosive tail or this like bouncy tail in some sort of way that sounds so glued to the sound. And how I achieve that, or how I achieve this sub to sound so glued with this sound is actually very easy. But it might take some messing around to get just right. Sometimes it took me quite a bit to get this right. So I put this sub at -5, -6. If you're going to do this, you probably want to have your sub really low because we're going to be pushing this a lot. So normally -6, -5 works, maybe even -7. And on the sub, I'm actually pushing this 8 gain. And why I'm doing that, you may be like, whoa, what the hell? Why are you doing that, Deep Boomer? Well, I'm just saying it that I'm doing it just because I want to. And at the end of the day, sometimes you got to experiment and you got to limit test. But for the real reason why I'm doing this is because if I turn this all the way down to 0, this sub is going to sound like nothing. And I was playing around, just playing around with loudness. And if you want something louder at the end of the day, you just got to turn it up with gain. So here, I'll show you the difference between the gain off and the gain on. So there you go. That is why I did that. And instead of adding just distortion to that sub off the rip at first, I just added gain. Because gain is going to create some sort of distortion at some point. But you can get it just right, so it's not like distorted. It's just loudness, just like almost touching that distortion. I may sound silly about that. Whatever though, it's kind of how I looked at it. And I cut this off at 240, so pretty much this is the subspace. Yeah, and then I put a soft clip at the bottom. Now here's where it gets juicy. So like I was saying, my sound is going into insert 3 right here, right? And any mid sound is going to this insert 3. But the real matter of the fact here is insert 3 is going into the final, right? And the sub is going into the final. So what I'm doing right here is I'm gluing these two things together, and then I'm going to add distortion, and then I'm going to add a little bit of maybe reverb, I guess. It was a little touch of convulsion reverb. I don't know why I did that, but I guess it works and it sounds good. We're just going to slip through that, past that. Sometimes things just sound good and you don't know why you did it. But regardless, it sounds good, so that's what matters. Ooh, this is the distortion right here. This is the bread and butter. Also, the disperser is doing a lot. But pretty much right here, what is gluing up this sound, or both of the stuffs, to sound so good, disperser and the decapitator. I promise you these bad boys are working so perfectly together. Now let me play for you without those. So like, yeah, it's still got the same result here, but problem is it's a little less controlled and a little less like pumpy and like more, yeah, it's less pumpy and more just like pushy in a way. And I like that pumpiness. So I added the disperser and I did it up here. Just I didn't want to do low end dispersing. I kind of wanted to have it more up here in this range, and that's where you're getting that like an emphasis on that middle kind of like type of thing going on there, that pump. This is nice. I love decapitator, whoop-bam. And then another thing, the last thing that is making this result happen. Well, let me be honest with you and full forward and straight and forward. Okay, got some EQing thing on the master, just bumping up some frequencies. Oh, yes, the blood overdrive, saturation. I know, right? You're like, whoa, why? What the hell? So, saturation boosts. And yes, it's a distortion. I think distortion and saturation at the end of the day are the same thing, right? But how they work, it may be a little bit different. How, like, what is the main point? So if we're using distortion, we're normally trying to use distortion to push low end to like up to like maybe 600 or something like that. And we're trying to push that stuff, or maybe like 500, whatever. And then saturation, I always look at saturation is it normally like affects 600 up on the frequency, so like middle, like the mid frequencies, maybe add a saturation to the master and it really pushes it. And also I would be lying if I didn't show you that this gain is also push 7. So I am pushing this a lot, and maybe I'm going to be straightforward. You don't have to push this much. You do not. Showed you here is the louder that you go, the more you can kind of the louder you go with stuff glued together, the more you can get that kind of like pushed sound to sound correct in that sense. And yeah, that's kind of like what I wanted to show you here, guys, or show you here, my peeps. Then I got this like Q3 just cutting off side stuff on the master, yada yada.